When it comes to making regular boxes, the Ultimate will do the work for you to make sure that when you do make a box, the lid and the base will always fit perfectly together without you having to worry about measuring, cutting a little bit here and there, making it a snug fit. And I want to explain to you how that works. Now, the box making facilities in the Ultimate are on the inside panel. So it's on the panel that looks like this, and you'll see you've got two sets of lines. One is marked up as box lid and one is marked up as box base. Now, how this works is your box lid lines are a true measurement and they're 1/2 inch each. So right from your datum point here to the first line is exactly 1/2 inch. In comparison, on your box base side, what we do is the line that goes from box base to the first line from the datum point isn't 1/2 inch, it's 1/2 inch plus a little bit. And that plus a little bit, although you'd never realise it, makes the sides of your box a tiny little bit higher, which in turn pinches a bit of space from the bottom, which is why the base fits perfectly under the lid. Now, we're going to do a 6x6 box here. Now, what I've done is, if you think about this logically, if you want a box that's 6 inches square, and I've decided to do it 1 inch deep, when you think about cutting your cardstock, you need to allow 1 inch for the side, 6 inches for the top, and 1 inch for the other side. So you'd actually start with a piece of cardstock that was 8 inches square. If you were doing a 6 by a different measurement, all you would do is take the other measurement, add the 1 inch for both of the sides, and that gives you your start of your starting piece. Now, because we've got the offset measurements, all you need to do is cut two pieces exactly the same. Whether you're doing square, rectangular, triangular, hexagonal boxes, it's always two pieces exactly the same. Now, you get two scoring tools in with the Ultimate, and you can see they've got different sized ball heads between them. Now, depending on the thickness of my card determines which size ball head I want to use. For a very, very heavyweight card, I could go with a very small head. For a very lightweight card, I would go with the larger head, which is a little bit softer. Because we've got a medium weight card here, I'm going to go with the medium size ball head. Now, if we start with the lid first, you butt up against box lid, and these are the depths. I said I wanted it 1 inch, which would mean I would use the second line. So you score on the second line on all 4 sides. And it's important that you understand the basic principles, because we'll use these principles all the way through this DVD. So that is our lid. We'll put that to one side, bring in the base, put the base up where it says box base, and then do exactly the same again, scoring all 4 sides on the same line. And that is all of the work that's done on the Ultimate. Now, the next stage that I always like to do, where we scored on the top of the card, turn it over and fold it away from you. And use the side of the tool, there's a flat edge on the side of the tool. And if you run it along the side of the card, that is called burnishing the cardstock. And all it does is gives you a nice crisp crease. Then once we've got to this stage, all you do when we're constructing the corners of our box is cut right up the centre of your crease line, and then you want to cut a small sliver out from the corner. Now, it doesn't matter which side you do that on, but you're always cutting up the crease line and cutting just a small sliver. Now, when it comes to gluing your box, really important, I always recommend either using a wet glue, or if you are going to use a tape pen, and I always use them in my demonstrations because they speed things along, but if you are going to, you need to make sure that you use a tape which has been specially engineered to be strong enough for something like box making, because what you don't want is for your box to come apart while you're, after you've made it, while it's been given to the recipient, for example. Okay, so notice I put plenty of tape on each of those corners, and then let me show you a little technique for box making. Because we're working in 3 dimensions, it's really important to get every one of those angles at exactly 90 degrees. I'm going to over exaggerate these so you can see them. If you were to stick your box like this, so you've got a little bit coming up off the edge, or in comparison, if you were to stick it like this, so that you've got a little bit coming out of the side, what will happen is you won't have 90 degrees in each angle. What you need to do is make sure that this here lines up perfectly with this part here, And if you have those aligned, and you can see on the inside they should be perfectly flush. If they are perfectly aligned, then you've got a box which is exactly 90 degrees in all 3 dimensions. Now, the more you do of this, the faster you will get. But all the time, notice I'm just lining up my finger and I'm pushing those into place. And because I'm using a tape pen, by rubbing between my finger and thumb, I'm creating a little bit of friction, which helps the glue bond together. I'll do the same with the lid. If you're going to do any decoration whatsoever on the lid, you do it after the point at which you've scored and before you assemble. So on this box here, for example, not only had I used a pattern paper, but I used one of our die cut dies, the Creator Card die, and I would just sit that in there now and run it through my machine. If you want to cut anything away from the sides, now would be the time to do it. So it's always after you've done the scoring, but before you do the construction. So I'm doing the same again. I'm burnishing all of these crease lines and then very carefully cutting up the centre point of the score line and cutting away a small little sliver of cardstock. And then I'm just going to apply the glue and stick the corners together. And accuracy is the key with all of these. You'll see me doing them quite fast here on the DVD. You've got to remember that I do a lot of boxes. You know, this is what I do for a living full time. But if you're just starting out with box making, it's important to take your time, because if you get those corners accurate, that's how you get that really professional finish. Now this is our lid, and that's what I mean when I said the lid will fit absolutely perfectly over the base. Always a lovely snug fit. And if I bring in the one that we've decorated, you can see the boxes can look really, really professional just by adding a little bit of ribbon, using some pattern card, adding your own die cuts, for example. And that is the core principle of how you would create a basic box.